Hey everyone, this is Chris from Combu and I'm here with Motorola's new Moto X4, a resurrection of the X series handsets which we haven't seen for a little while. They used to be Motorola's top-end phones and now they're more sort of mid-range, replaced of course by the Moto Z series. The Moto X4 costs 349 quid. Here in the UK, we're going to do a full unboxing, setup and sort of have a bit of whiz around the interface. So I've actually done a full hands-on review already, but it's always good to have a proper play with the handset in more quieter, serene surroundings and all the rest of it. So there's the handset, we're going to check that out in a minute. Just going to have a quick whiz around the rest of the box first and see what else you can expect. So of course lots of literature, porky pin device to actually get the SIM out, hooray! Safety, regulatory and legal information, exciting bedtime reading there, and a bit of read-me action. I feel like I'm in Alice in Wonderland. At a glance just shows you exactly what's on the handset, how to shove in a SIM card, charge it up, and then a little bit about the interface. So it actually goes into quite a lot of detail there, which is always nice if you haven't used a Moto phone before. Luckily, they're really easy to get to grips with, thanks to a nice vanilla Android interface. And of course, exciting times, you get a 3-pin plug and a USB cable in order to actually power it up and use the damn thing. It's Type-C USB, as you can see there. So brilliant, everything you get is in the box. It is of course turbo power compatible as well, as we'll touch on later, so you'll need to use the bundled plug in order to take advantage of that. Let's just peel off all of this shenanigans and actually take a look at the device itself. So this is the blue model. It's got a specific name, which is still in blue. Actually more silver blue is what I would have called it. It's slight disagreement. I think it's only an ever so slightly shade of blue. It definitely looks a lot more silver to me. It's got a subtle hint of blue in there, I guess. But yeah, quite a nice device. It's ever so slightly chunky, as you can see there, and got a good heft to it as well. And despite the fact it's only a dinky little 5.2 incher, it's quite nice to have a compact handset like this. Again, because obviously you see a lot of 5.5 inches these days. As you can see, you've got a fingerprint sensor built into the home button down below, ever so slightly indented so you can find it quite easily in the dark. You've got your power and volume buttons here on this side. This is one of the only issues I had with the hands-on review, is that the power button is right next to the volume button, so you can quite easily misfinger one of them, so to speak, when you're groping for one. Up top, obviously, just the SIM tray, which also takes a micro SD memory card as well, and then it's nice and clean on this side. And then, of course, around the back, you get your dual lens snapper. So Motorola, I've done a couple of dual lens snappers now. This is one of the first ones we actually had a chance to play around with. And we'll cover that in more detail with our actual full hands-on. But quite a snazzy design to it. It does kind of jut out the surface quite a bit there, but not to like a worrying degree. Obviously, if you have it flush on the surface, there'll be a bit of juddering action when typing away. But yeah, you've got quite a nice sort of like almost clock face dial effect around the circumference of it, which catches the light very nicely. Great stuff. And so far, certainly doesn't seem to be smudging up too badly either. Unlike the likes of the Samsung's Galaxy S8 and all those other shiny backed phones, this should conceal your greasy finger marks quite nicely, which is always lovely. So let's see if we can power it up. Hopefully, yep, we've got some juice in the tank. Excellent stuff. So we'll get it all fully set up. So as I say, it comes to the UK 350 quid. So it's like nicely placed in between the G5S Plus, G5 Plus, those sort of more affordable of Motorola's. What's it? Hello, Moto. And of course the top-end Moto Z series, which of course features the Moto mods, which you can slap on to expand the battery, add on all kinds of bonus stuff like a new projector feature, all that kind of stuff. So this kind of sits neatly in the middle of those two. If you quite like an idea of a more premium Motorola phone, but you can't spend enough cash to get the Moto Z series, and you're not really that bothered about the Moto mods, then this is probably a good shout for you. Welcome to your Moto X4, so it's set up as a fresh phone. And it's also fully water resistant as well, which is great, because we don't tend to see water resistant handsets at this sort of price point. Right, so I just connected to the internet, accept all the usual shenanigans, privacy warnings, etc, etc. Let's see if there's any updates. Hopefully shouldn't be, because it is of course a brand new fresh handset. So with the Google account, I'll just skip that for now. I can do all that later. Name, yeah, I don't really care about any of that. So unlock with fingerprint. So of course you've got the built-in fingerprint sensor there beneath the screen. Nice and easy to go up to when you pick up your handset. And you can get up to 5 fingerprints registered at one time. So yeah, we know what the sensor is, and let's just try setting up our fingerprint. Hopefully it should be a nice swift action. I didn't get a chance to test this out in our hands-on session at IFA, but yeah, there we go, that's that done. And of course that locks your phone, and what you can also do is there's a new feature called Moto Key built into the Motorola Assistant, which actually uses the fingerprint as a replacement for a password for your apps and your website accounts as well, which is really, really cool. So that it just helps save you a bit of time, just agreeing to all of the usual stuff. Oh, I don't care, just let me skip through this, thank you. I don't want recommendations for new apps, thank you, because you want me to install all sorts of crap. As usual, this is a new thing for Motorola, they've just started doing this recently on the handsets. Now I don't want Norton, I didn't even know Norton was still a thing. Final Fantasy 15? Nah, I'm good thanks mate, that's alright. I will have a bit of Spotify though, that's always handy. Right, install. Okay. So basically you can pick and choose what you want from a large selection of crap, and then you can of course add your work account. I'll skip this for now, I'll get all that set up later because we just want to have a dive around that lovely, clean, vanilla nougat interface. So here we go. If you've used a Motorola phone in recent times, you'll know exactly what to expect here. It is basically pretty vanilla version of Android with a couple of bonus features thrown in. So as you can see, just swipe up for your apps, swipe down for your notifications, dive into the settings. You got your usual stuff there with a couple of little bonus bits as well. So in terms of the storage, you get 32 gigs built in there. As you can see, quite a lot of it already used up, almost half of it in fact. So just as well then that you can slip a micro SD memory card into the top and expand it by a further 2 terabytes. That's loads of space. Which is great if you want to carry around a large media collection, get lots of Spotify downloads, Netflix, whatever else you use. You can of course fully customise the interface, move all your apps around and all the rest of it. And if you dive in here, as you can see, it's generally your standard Google app stuff in there. Very little new additions apart from the Moto Assistant, which is actually a genuinely useful add-on. Adds a few extra bonus little sort of gesture shortcuts and all the rest of it. So this is Moto Key, which I was telling you about before. You can use your fingerprint sensor to replace passwords on the likes of apps and websites. Of course, you've got lots of gesture support, so you can once again do the old double wrist twist to load up the camera, as so. There we go. It took a little while that time, that's probably because the first time we've actually launched it. Usually it does it in about a second or so. And yeah, we'll go through all the camera stuff in a second. Let's jump back into the Moto Assistant. Moto Display just has the likes of a night light feature, and you can see your notifications if you raise the phone as well, which is definitely handy. And Moto Voice is basically a voice activated assistant type thing. Although the exciting thing about this as well is that it comes with Alexa built in. So if you use Alexa, if you've got an Echo Dot speaker or anything like that, or you've got another device that supports Alexa, this also has Alexa built in, so you can control your smart home goodies right there on the smartphone, access web information, do whatever you want to do basically. So that is the Moto Assistant. Of course, be fully featuring this in our in-depth review, so stay tuned for all that, and we'll be doing full tips and tricks and everything as well, so plenty of things to look forward to. As I say, Moto Display, night mode, and friendly notifications, and then all the rest. So there you go, lots of bonus little features thrown in there, which is always good. And Alexa, I believe, should come pre-installed, but I can't actually see her in the apps list, so I'll have to do a bit of investigatory work into that. It might be a case of actually have to download her yourself anyway, so I'll check that one out. As for the performance, it should be suitably nippy. It's a Snapdragon 630 backed by 3 gigs of RAM, so 630 is sort of reasonably dependable, mid-tier kind of chipset that you see on a lot of these £300–400 smartphones. Obviously not quite as strong as the likes of the Kirin 960, which is packed into the Honor 9, yeah, and the Snapdragon 835, which is packed into the OnePlus 5. But still, for your everyday running and the rest, it should be absolutely fine. Certainly with my hands-on session, I didn't notice any slowdown, apart from the odd tiny little stutter when loading up, for instance, the camera app. But otherwise, should do the job quite nicely, and you can play the latest games and all the rest of it, no problem whatsoever. You also get 3000 mAh battery packed inside, which will hopefully keep you going for over a day, especially since it's quite a small display that it has to power. So we'll definitely be giving that a full test out, and as I say, it's got turbo power support, so you can charge back up. They reckon you'll get 6 hours use in 15 minutes of the plug, but of course, again, that's rife for testing, so we'll be checking that out. As for the display itself as well, as I said before, it's a 5.2 inch, it's an IPS display, but it should be reasonably punchy, as Motorola tends to do pretty good displays on its handsets. Certainly for the price, they are definitely decent quality. It's a full HD resolution as well, 1920 by 1080, so as you can see there, you'll be struggling to notice any individual pixels or anything like that. Your full HD movies should look the biz. And yeah, and if we punch it all the way up, say, there we go, if we go into the display settings, we'll just bump that up as well so it doesn't keep going to sleep. You've got a colour mode as well where you can actually choose between vibrant colours or more realistic colours. It doesn't make a massive amount of difference, we've noticed, in everyday use, but to be fair, those colours are sort of reasonably punchy as they are anyway, just as punchy as they are on the likes of the new Pixel phones, for instance, which actually have AMOLED displays, which doesn't really make any sense, but there you go. As I said before, around the back you do of course get a dual lens camera. It's a 12 megapixel f2.0 aperture standard lens and an f2.2 aperture 8 megapixel wide angle lens, and you can swap between the two on the fly using a nifty button in the camera app. So as you can see, load up the camera app. Oh, let's get through all the annoying tutorials that keep popping up. As you can see, you're really in close to your subject using the standard lens, but if you give this little button here a tap, it switches to the wide angle lens, and as you can see, it really pulls back your view and you can get a lot more into the shots. It'll be really handy for those vista shots, that kind of thing, if you're taking a picture of a big group, something like that. And besides that, it's pretty much standard fare for a Motorola camera app. As you can see, you've got an HDR mode which can be switched onto full auto, you've got your flash, you've got your timer functions, you can switch to video and shoot up to, I believe it's full HD, but let me just double check in the settings. Pull out the settings this way, you can scroll down, as you can see, you can change the photo size and everything, video size. By default it's full HD, 30 frames per second, but you can switch up to 60 frames per second if you want as well. And then it's very basic apart from that. And of course you've got a couple of little bonus camera modes you can use as well. So if you tap into here, as you can see, it swaps it into slow motion mode, so you can shoot a nice bit of slow motion video. And otherwise, oh, that's a nice bit of face filter action. I haven't actually used this, so I've got no idea what it is. Oh, there we go. It looks like a similar sort of thing to what you get on the likes of the Samsung handsets. You can change yourself into a cat, a mouse, you can stick things in your face. I'm not really sure what half of this stuff is, to be honest. I'm sure it's all highly entertaining. And yeah, and then just switch back to photo mode like so. And of course you can swap also to the front facing 16 megapixel camera, f2.0, and it's actually got an LED flash right there on the front as well, so you can take those sexy club selfies, don't have to worry about finding a good light source or anything like that, so all handy. So that, in a nutshell, is the new Moto X4. Let's just test out the fingerprint sensor super quick as well to see how nippy that is since we've got it all set up. So yeah, seems reasonably responsive, and you're not hanging around too long. Bit of a pause, but nothing too bad whatsoever. So there you go, so that is the Moto X4, as I say, coming to the UK for 350 quid. So this seems like a nice design, some decent specs for the price. Bit of a step up from the Moto G5S. You've got the likes of the water resistance, which those G series phones don't have, so if that's a major sort of seller for you, a major selling point, then this is a good one to go for. So as I say, full review and everything coming soon. I'll be testing out that camera. Any questions, comments, theories on life and all the rest of it, throw it down below. And thanks for watching everyone. Cheers. Bye.